partner and I alternate bringing our littlest one to school. He likes riding with me a little bit better these days. I think it might just be a father-son connection, or maybe it's we share a neurodivergence. I don't know. But it was her turn to take him yesterday. And she said, well, let me do a dad impersonation. So she put like a ball cap on and started kind of, doing her impersonation of me, which, to be honest, wasn't all that great, but made me laugh. And it wasn't all that great until it got real. She turned it back and flipped it on me and said like, hey, babe, I just want to support you today. I just want to let you know that I want to support you. There's been so many times where I have said that exact phrase to her over the years. But somehow hearing it back to me really clicked how unsupportive that statement actually is. If you wanted to be helpful to me, show me, don't tell me. Just start doing the work. I promise you I'll notice that. If I had been paying attention to my partner, I would already know the answer about how to support her. And then I would go about doing those things. And it's not that a check-in every once in a while or verbalizing things isn't the right thing, but I wasn't bringing any other energy other than tell me what to do. It is such a lazy thing to do, to put the labor back on somebody who's already burdened, to have them explain and spell out to you how it looks to be loved. This was extra unfair to my partner because she's not a hyper-verbal person. Like, it takes a lot of time and energy for her to translate what she's feeling and put them into words. And I didn't get that for a long time. As it turns out, telling somebody you want to support them isn't nearly as important as just supporting them. How do we show up for our partner? And I think one of the ways to answer this question is through the lens of values. So a lot of this comes down to what we would talk about as a minimum standard of care. Do you and your partner share the same value? And if you are claiming to share the same value, are we meaning the same thing at the same level as the other person? Because sometimes I was not. My partner said at the outset of the relationship, I really need a recreational partner. I want to go on adventures. And I said, me too. And what I meant at that time was I will go with you any place that you choose to go. It did not mean that I was going to go build skills up and invite my partner along on adventures and on journeys and be a co-leader on those, right? And that's what my partner wanted. My partner wanted somebody who could teach her in adventure just as much as she might be able to teach me. She loves to go dancing, for example. One of her favorite dancing styles is swing. I think the level of just touching people in improvisation was not my strength. I said, I'll come with you. But when I went there, I was so uncomfortable that not only was it not fun for me, my energy and my discomfort made it not fun for her. So how would I show up for my partner there? If I could go back in time, I would either take swing dance classes to get through my own stuff and my own learning style so I could show up with some level of confidence and fun so I could actually join my partner in that activity. Or say, look, hun, I'm not sure I can really meet you there in the way that you deserve. You go out and have as much fun as you want, dance all night, make it a weekly routine, daily routine if you need it. Whatever it is that lights you up, I'm here to support you. In this particular regard, leaving some space in the relationship in ways that are healthy might actually create more intimacy, which I didn't get. It really is about paying attention. My partner told me many things that I just didn't really hear, right? So when it comes to community, my partner had said that she grew up in a really robustly kind of supported extended family, which I had not really seen before. We only had a couple kids and they were very tiny. Her aunt came and said, I would love to have them for the day. And I remember actually in that moment thinking oh, I haven't seen them all week because I've been working. I want to see my kids. And also deeper, I felt like maybe guilty that somebody else would be taking on my responsibility. But I didn't look. I physically didn't look at my partner at all during that conversation, because if I had, I would have seen her face drop when she realized that the few resources that we actually had, when one of them was offering, that I, rather than embracing that opportunity with open arms and really seeing my partner and seeing her values and letting my kids also have a more robust community, got in my own way with my own bias. Food is another one. So when she would bring something to me like this, I would like to have healthier meals for our children. I would say, out of my own discomfort, that's cool that you have that value, but that's not a value of mine. If I eat cereal in front of the kids, or I'm bringing in prepackaged junk food all the time, what is that to you? It was everything to her. So rather than taking someone's feedback, especially someone you love, especially your partner's feedback, if it feels threatening at all, rather than having a default no response, just being able to sit there and listen with curiosity and ask questions is a way to show up. And then beyond that, to take that information in, process it, and then change our behavior accordingly. I would tell my partner, I know that you're home in a stay-at-home mom role with them all day long, and that's a lot. So how about you get out of the house on a weekend and just go do something, go meet up with a friend, go for a walk. I hadn't taken into account
that my partner had a minimum standard of care of the routines that she had worked incredibly hard to keep the children on while she was in her working role all week long. And so I thought, well, I'll just do this job the way that I would do the job. And my minimum standard of care for weekend parenting wasn't as high as my partner's. So when she did finally take me up on the offer and left on a Saturday morning, she came back and found the kids had not been fed lunch. Now, from my point of view, I was working on something that was important to me, but it shouldn't have been more important than like overriding the values of my partner or meeting the basic needs of my children. So in my head, because I had grown up semi-neglected a lot of the time, I thought, well, if I end up feeding them, macaroni and cheese at 1 p.m., what's the big deal? It's a big deal because the kids normally eat at 11:30 to 11:45. So they didn't come ask me for lunch. They didn't look to me to be the person that met their needs. So when my partner walked back in and the kids immediately ran up to her at the front door and say, Mom, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. And she said, Dad didn't feed you? And they say, no. Her heart sinks, rightfully so. In my little stubborn head, I thought, well, I was about to feed them. But about to feed them meant I didn't take care of my responsibilities in the moment, especially not up to the standard of care that my partner would have, which meant that my partner, what I really ended up telling her was, you go out and have fun, have a good time, not here, but I'm not going to take care of the responsibilities in this household. You will end up having to take care of them when you get back. And a lot of us know what that feels like because we work in jobs where a vacation isn't truly a vacation. You're working twice as hard before you leave and twice as hard when you get back. And that doesn't feel good. When you get that response from your partner, somebody who's claiming to love you, that is not showing up for them. At the outset of a relationship, whatever your partner's values are, if you are not completely aligned on them, in order to make that relationship a healthy working one that you would like to keep, one that your partner would want to be in, it does require work. And that work is paying attention. And paying attention, guys, does include looking at body language and affect. Because none of us, I saw a lot of comments in a previous video saying, what, you want me to be a mind reader? No one's saying mind read. Certainly verbal communication where it occurs is helpful. And women do verbally communicate. That's the whole point. We, at least I did, often dismissed it as like, that's not my value. That's not really that important to me right now. And that's where we go wrong because then they stop talking to us, but they're not stopping their communication. Let's be honest about that. Because if I had looked at my partner's face when the kids came up to her and said, Dad didn't feed us lunch, I would have seen everything I needed to know about how to change my behavior.